Remember when we used to just admit that we didn't like an artist and didn't think of this conspiracy theory on why they're famous? I do too. Recently, we've seen the rise of artists such as Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, Tate McRae, and there's one thing that a lot of these artists have in common. And no, it's not them being in pop music. It's the fact that people have called them an industry plant because their rapid rise to fame just came out of nowhere or something. I won't deny their rise to fame is actually very, very shocking. Like, especially for someone like a chaperone, like who's very different to what the industry is trying to push out. Maybe that's her appeal as to why she's making it big. But there has been this kind of conversation that really started from people being like, are we forcibly being pushed these artists, or are they naturally just growing and actually there's an audience for them out there? So today I thought it was important that we talked about whether or not these artists are industry plants, and spoiler alert, they're not. Let's get into it. Also, hi, welcome. You're probably here from my TikTok. I usually make short form content, but I'm, changing some things up a bit, and we're gonna do some YouTube videos. So if you actually end up enjoying this video, make sure you give me a like, subscribe, and just suggest some ideas in the comments down below. And yeah, let's just get into it. Now, according to the internet, there's two different definitions that one may say is an industry plant. The first one is the original term, and that is someone who has been propped up by the industry and claims that they are kind of like this independent, homegrown artist. So like they're claiming, I'm independent, I have no label, and I'm just trying to rise. I need your fans. You get the gist of that shit, right? But then there is this new term that I think most people associate with industry plant nowadays, and that is someone who becomes popular through nepotism, inheritance, wealth, or their connections in the music industry. So maybe their mom was a famous actress, or their dad is like a record label owner or some shit, right? Stuff like that. And that's how they get far in the industry. So think of like a Clara or like a Gracie Abrams, I guess. Although I'd argue they didn't become popular based off what their parents have done, if that makes sense. Like they became famous in their own little circles and their own merit, if that makes sense. Also, I'm sorry if I keep pressing the fucking phone. I don't know why my phone just keeps turning off, but we'll have to deal with it for today. So, as you can see, by definition, Chappell Roan wouldn't fall under industry plant. Sabrina Carpenter technically wouldn't even fall under industry plant at all. And most definitely Tate McRae wouldn't fall under industry plant. So, like, where are these accusations coming? Accusations. I want to start off by talking about Chappell Roan because I think she's like the more recent person that we're all talking about. And Chappell is a very interesting artist in the sense that she has been flopping for like the past 10 years. Like everything she released, not even 200 people were tuning into that shit. Like, like she got dropped by her label because she was a flop, And so she's really built herself up over the years to be this viral sensation, especially after opening for Olivia Rodrigo's Guts tour. So she didn't just like magically come out of thin air, and she certainly didn't come because the industry knows her. She didn't have any connections. She grew up in a trailer park. So like there's nothing really screaming, industry plant in her story, unless like I'm missing something. Like do let me know if I am missing something, but judging from what we have about her in her little biography, she's a homegrown little girl. Or like an artist like Tate McRae, who kind of has been famous for a while now. Like she had a hit in You Broke Me First in like, I believe it was 2020. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't feel like looking it up right now. But she had a hit with You Broke Me First, and she's occasionally had those entries on the Billboard Hot 100. Like I know she had a collaboration with Tiesto from like 2 years ago that was like charting in the top 80-ish, I think, and they were playing that at the clubs and whatnot. So Tate McRae has been here, and Greedy was like her big breakout hit that got her like a top 10 hit. And like I'm pretty sure most of the artists we know from like throughout history had their moments where they were charting very low, but then that one song really broke them into the mainstream, and that was Greedy for Tate McRae in my opinion. So she doesn't have any connections in the industry, not really, and like she didn't grow up in like this family that's connected to the industry. Like nothing about Tate McRae is screaming industry plant, right? Like Tate McRae is not an industry plant. And lastly, we have like the biggest success story at the moment right now, and that is Sabrina Carpenter. This girl has been at it since like, I think 2014, 2015. So it's been 10 fucking years since this girl actually started her music career. And Disney really fumbled the bag when trying to secure her as an artist. But now that she's left Disney and Hollywood Records, she's really flourishing. The Emails I Can't Send era was kind of like the seeds being planted, and now we're in the short and sweet era, and like she's rose to the top. She's the biggest pop star in the world and whatnot. She's definitely not an industry plant. I think the big reason why people like to call her an industry plant is because of the whole autoplay thing. Like, her song automatically pops up when you play a song on Spotify or like an album on Spotify, and it's done. And I made a video on my TikTok about this, so if you don't follow my TikTok, I'll link it down below so you can watch the video. Or I'm not going to put the video in the video because you probably saw it if you're from my TikTok, so we're going to save you some time. But Sabrina Carpenter, the autoplay feature is not, it's not like an example of her being an industry plant. It's not like payola. It's because her songs are popular at the moment. Like, Spotify's recommendation for autoplay automatically recommends like the popular song at the moment. And Espresso, I said Espresso, oh my god, I'm sorry, Sabrina. Espresso and Please Please Please, these all debuted at like the millions. Like, they debuted with like 8 million streams in like their first fucking day. So like, they're popular hits, and the autoplay feature automatically recommends the songs that are doing well on Spotify. They just don't have a guy randomly putting in songs for Spotify. I'm pretty sure it's like an AI robot that automatically detects what's popular and then recommends it to that person in case they didn't listen to it yet, or like they want to listen to it again because the song's so popular, right? The more the popular song, the better it is for Spotify. In my honest opinion, it is actually very hard for an industry plant to succeed unless like you're Jennifer Lopez or some shit. But like, you know, take Clairo for example. Like, she had one song that really popped off, and then people found out about her connection to her dad, who's like this mega person in the industry. And then, you know, after clocking her tea, they're like, you know what, we're out, you're fake as fuck. And that's why she never really growed her audience, because people think she's like this ingenuine artist, even though I personally think she has grown beyond the father figure that she has. But there's a lot of reasons why some people are turned off by Clairo, because especially like in this age of like Olivia Rodrigo's and like Sabrina Carpenter's who are keeping it real and shit, Clairo having this like mega millionaire dad is just not it. And so we're going to see a lot of industry plans pop up, but they're never going to succeed. I think that's just a common characteristic you'll see of an industry plan. Like, they're usually not going to succeed, in my opinion. Like, even if the industry is continuously pushing them, they're usually not going to be like a superstar that a lot of people think they're going to be. In my opinion, the issue at hand is that in recent years, especially with like the rise of a TikTok or like a YouTube, it's been much faster for someone to become famous and grow an audience. If someone really clicks with your music, you're gonna grow an audience pretty fast. And because of this, we've seen like such a fast rise in artists such as Olivia Rodrigo and Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter, and like all of these people who are as chronically online as us kind of find it shocking, and so they're just like, oh my god, why is this happening? It feels like the industry is pushing these people. And yes, the industry is actually pushing these people because they had their moment on certain apps or certain circles, and so now they have more faith into investing in that artist. Obviously, if you've seen my TikToks, you probably saw me responding to a comment calling Chappell Roan an industry plant, which really inspired me to make this video in particular. And in that video response, I talk about how the industry is pushing her now because they're doing their job. And because we're like used to these artists who are promoting themselves like a Tinashe or a SZA or a Normani, and like their labels are barely doing any of the work and they're the ones putting the work in. I think we're gotten so used to the labels not actually pushing their artists, and when they actually do, it's like a weird sight for us to behold. Like, Chappell Roan's on Jimmy Fallon now. Chappell Roan's actually appearing at Bonnaroo. Chappell Roan's actually appearing at Governor as well. It's so weird. That's just the label actually being on her side for once. And it's unfortunate that we live in a time where like artists are not getting the support they need from their labels, and they have to directly prove themselves before the label will actually put money into them. But I'm glad that we're finally coming to the realization that labels are finally just doing their job. If there is one thing that I hope people take from this video is, let's not use the word industry plant loosely. there are definitely some cases where people are being propped up by the industry and they have the connections, and the industry is going to push them because of those connections. But almost always, the artist that you claim as an industry plant is just someone you don't recognize from a month ago, and you're just shocked that they're finally putting themselves in mainstream spaces, or their label is pushing them in mainstream spaces. Because a lot of these artists, they have had years and years of working their asses off and trying to develop their audience and their craft, especially someone like Chappell Roan, who's had to move back to Missouri many times to work like regular jobs before she can finally take off in the industry. Or like someone like Sabrina Carpenter, who's worked 10 years only to be like this laughing joke on Stan Twitter. Like, all of these artists are kind of like finally having their moment. I think 2024 is like the year of the redemption in a way. And we're going to hear a lot of people say, this is an industry plant, this is an industry plant. I just want you to be more mindful of who we call an industry plant, because certainly there are some artists who just are popular, and you didn't know about how popular they were until now. And now that they're growing even more, you're going to be more aware of what they're doing. Anyways, I know this is kind of short. Most of my videos will probably be this short, but like, I would love to know your opinion. Do you actually think Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, Tate McRae, all these artists are industry plants? Or do you agree with me and like, this is just something that really irritates you? Because it definitely irritates me. As you can see, I'm like going off right now. But I am really rooting for Chappell. I'm rooting for Sabrina. I'm rooting for Tate. I'm rooting for Olivia. I'm rooting for all of these artists. I think they're extremely talented. They're gonna go places. I am so excited to see where they go next. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos. Again, suggest some video ideas down below, because I certainly have some, but I want to know what you guys want to see. So, actually, before I go, I want to talk about this Julia Fox quote, because she literally clocked everyone's tea. Why is it always the girlies that get attacked, huh? Anyways, bye.